Yeah, they're the worst.
When's the last time you bought a T-shirt?
I don't buy things. People buy them for me.
Who's buying you T-shirts?
My wife, my mom, my mother-in-law.
What are on the T-shirts? Are they just plain white T-shirts?
Usually it's a picture of mom's tits when she's giving it to me. Let's get loaded.
You gotta keep them separated.
Welcome to the Loaded Box Podcast.
Well, we never finished first because we finished last.
We are recording this on Sunday, so you know what that means. It's our instant reactions episode to Week 7 in the NFL. I am Ben. That is DJ, who was saying inappropriate things about my mom. I hope he writes her an apology letter at the very least.
She listens to this so she can tell you it's true.
You're such a dickhead.
Gotta keep it separated.
Yeah, how do you grade your watching today of the NFL?
Oh shit! Today was a tough one because sitting there as a Brett Hundley watcher, as a Packer fan watching Brett Hundley, I got my eyes on everything, trying to watch everything, but it was just a disappointment. I couldn't even focus on my game 100% because once the second half rolled around, it started to go downhill. I'd say I was about a B-. I just wasn't into the Packer game, so I'm like, if you're not into your favorite team, you can't really I was into it, but I wasn't into it. I don't know how to explain it.
I get no. It makes it difficult once your team's playing and their game's done and they lose. You're just like, well, fuck. Now I'm pissed off because I spent so much time worrying about my team. I went outside and played basketball for 20 minutes, so I did miss a little bit.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating knowing Aaron Rodgers would have won that game by 75 points.
You think so?
God, easily. God, he would have picked those fuckers apart. And that's what's the most frustrating part about it is knowing that I can't sit there and watch that. I have to watch the guy can't throw it to any wide receivers. So if we're going to preview that game, we should probably just do it right away.
Yeah, I guess. Let's just knock it out right away. This has become the Packers' first podcast.
If you fucking have Devontae Adams and Jordy Nelson, they have become borderline. They're flex plays at this point. If he can't get it to his wide receivers, Hundley, at all, Aaron Jones is a running back one.
Dude, Aaron Jones, what did he average today? 7 yards a carry?
Yeah, it was fucking... Let me bring it up real quick. At one point it was 15 for 130, so whatever that is. He had 7.7 yards a carry, 17 for 131 and a touchdown.
Gosh, I was watching that game and I was like, I haven't seen the Packers have a running back that looks like this in such a long time because they've been using kind of guys in specific roles, like how they've been using Montgomery, and then before that it was Eddie Lacy, and Lacy was a pure running back, but he was a bruiser. He had a really different skill set than what Aaron Jones has, is what I'm trying to get at. But man, I like Aaron Jones, but there's only so much they can do right now.
You like Aaron Jones? Who said that before the season started?
I want you to give me some props though from staying away from Ty Montgomery. How about that call?
Yeah, I mean, with Aaron Rodgers, he'd be much more effective, but with the offense that they were having to run with Hundley out there, I mean, I guess you're right.
Fucking
because
right.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't exist, but with Aaron Rodgers, they would both be highly effective.
Yeah, and my whole thing with Montgomery it's just the fact, and I think his skill set does play well to being paired with Rodgers because they weren't going to rely on the ground game as much. But everyone's saying he can handle double-digit carries. He's going to be doing this and that. I'm like, I just don't see it. So
he would have been. He would have been running more of a shotgun too. So he's more made for that shotgun offense and then catching the ball in the backfield. He would have been really successful, and he was up till the injury.
Well, he got hurt, and then he gets healthy, and then Rodgers gets hurt.
Yeah, it was the ultimate Montgomery. Rodgers getting hurt, and then himself getting, or the other way around.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Let's flip to the other team. I was looking at Mark Ingram because he dominated today.
Yep.
So Ingram, the 4 games that he had with Adrian Peterson, had no touchdowns, 42 carries for 170 yards. So obviously not too good. Without Adrian Peterson, these 2 games, 47 carries, 219 yards, 3 touchdowns. Is that because of their matchups that they've just had, or is that the fact that they're not trying to juggle 3 running backs anymore?
Well, the Saints were just doing everything wrong. I mean, when they went out and got Adrian Peterson, it was a bad idea because then they drafted, and they also drafted Alvin Kamara. And then they were like trying to mix in everybody, and it wasn't working. When Mark Ingram's been a successful running back in this offense, and then mix that with Kamara, you had fucking perfect thing. So trading him away to help them focus their offense on what it should have been.
Right.
And those two running backs together are good. I mean, the last two games have proved it, but they complement each other really well.
Oh, big time. You knew that wasn't going to be good week one in prime time when Adrian Peterson's yelling at the coach. He's getting like 8 carries or 8 snaps, whatever it was. It's like there's just too much to juggle there. There wasn't. If they were going to bring in Peterson, they basically had to part ways with Ingram.
Yeah, it was so stupid.
How about? Oh, go ahead.
I mean, that's why they were playing so bad right away at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson fucked him up.
They've been on a tear recently, and
he got him with the switch. Let the joke sit. Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to Thursday because that was probably one of the more entertaining games of the year. The Raiders with basically 2 untimed downs.
Yes. Every time I'm going to do that.
Good. 31-30. Amari Cooper broke out. 11, 210, 2 touchdowns. 19 targets. Cooper back, or is this just they were up against a passing defense that doesn't have their best safety, and they've just kind of struggled in general against the pass?
Well, I mean, he was going to break out and have a good game eventually, and I think he'll continue to play well, as long as they're not playing Denver, which, they played them once or twice already, haven't they?
Once for sure.
Once for sure. It's once. Yeah, so I would count on him to continue to play well. Derek Carr's going to play well. Derek Carr busted back out and was the quarterback we thought he could, and I still think that, I mean, they just beat potentially the best team in the NFL in a crazy last drive and last 3 possessions there, which was awesome.
It's ridiculous.
Crabtree's still the man, but I think Crabtree's going to help Cooper get that one-on-one coverage because you watch that guy, his routes are just disgusting.
Yeah, he's nasty.
He's so good at route running. It's fun to watch. So he's going to get open. He's going to get opportunities. He's just got to catch the ball because once he gets it, he has the ability to make plays.
I think the Raiders are one of the most entertaining teams to even watch in the NFL. So much fun. Every game seems
my new adopted favorite team.
Oh yeah, every game seems to come down to the end. They don't really hold anything back. They let Carr play quarterback. They just let him wing it. I don't really know what was going on at the end of the game.
I know. That's
what they do. That's who he is.
But Del Rio is like the fucking. He holds them back still at times. That's one of their complaints.
Early, I think he holds them back too early, and then at the end of the game, they ran 2 plays in a row. And I know Jared Cook caught one of them, and he went down to the one. But they basically had 2 guys running the same route. It was
I know they did that twice, right?
Yeah, beautiful
that
chaos.
Was a sweet play. I liked it. I think more teams should do that.
I just hate though, how teams right now. So many teams play not to lose, whereas the Raiders are just fuck it, we're going all in here. We're going. And I don't know, that I tweeted it during that game. It was just beautiful chaos. That whole ending of that game was just you couldn't even sit. I didn't even care about the outcome, but just pure entertainment. I wish every game was like that.
I don't get how people tweet during football. I want to, but it's so hard for me to put my mind on to go to Twitter,
dude.
Because I'm so locked in on everything going around. I have my computer and my 2 TVs, and my mind's going crazy. I can't even, I know I have a lot of thoughts, but I just can't even imagine picking up my phone and going to Twitter. I barely even text besides you.
I can't do it to a Dolphins game. If I'm watching a different game. I can't
do it at all.
Well, especially on Thursday when there was one game, I could tweet a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
But, yeah, in regards to a Sunday, the people that are on the ball tweeting everything, that's a special skill set. I don't know how you do it.
Well, that's the thing. I feel if I start tweeting and posting videos and all these things and pictures of things that people are doing, they're trying to get funny things, I'm missing half of what's going on. So I feel I don't want to miss anything. I hate walking on the road.
I know. I don't get how they do it.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Let's bounce over to a waiver wire guy here. The Bills beat the Bucks 30-27. O.J. Howard breaks out. We just talked about him with Elliot Christ in our last podcast. He goes 6 for 98 and 2 touchdowns. If you're in a league where he's not owned, are you taking him? And if you do own him, are you considering to use him now?
It's tough because he's not really that offense with those 2 tight ends. It's not going to stay consistent because Cameron Brate's still going to continue to score touchdowns in the red zone. So I still think he's the better tight end to own on this team right now. But, I picked him up last week, hoping he would do something, did nothing, dropped him, brought in another tight end, he scores 2 touchdowns this week. Pisses me off. So it's another I think, streaming guy. Because I don't think he's someone you want to go in on every week because he's not going to consistently do that. It was just a good week for him.
Right.
He's a great athlete. He's going to be fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Cameron Braid there, it's not as... Cameron Braid's really good as well.
Yeah, if you're a dynasty or a keeper league, he's obviously rostered, but I think he's the guy to own there for sure. His first touchdown was just like a shorter one where I think there might have been 2 tight ends in on the set anyways. So it was a more legit touchdown, whereas his second one was kind of like Winston rolling to the right, and then he just threw it all the way back across the field, and there was just busted coverage. So that could have been anyone. I don't think that was really like Howard necessarily being like too skillful on that play. So I don't want to call it. Call. Yeah, it was more of a good play call than it was Howard was just the beneficiary of a blown coverage. But yeah, that's a tough one for me. I think if you're using him, I don't even know that it depends on the matchup. I think it might depend on your other tight ends matchup. And if he has a tough one, then take a flyer on Howard. But I don't know. That's a really tricky situation to be in.
I feel like the Bucs won that game. I realized the Bills did.
Yeah,
they fucked up at the end.
I was pissed because the Bills
fumble.
The fumble, yeah. Another waiver wire guy on a team with basically no wide receiver production the entire year. Deontay Thompson comes out of left field for the Bills, goes 4 for 107, no touchdowns. But they legit so they have Jordan Matthews who's done nothing this year. Other than that, they don't have any receivers. So
yeah, they don't throw to Zay Jones at all.
No, if Thompson emerges like this, is he the receiver to own? Do you pick him up?
I don't know. It depends on what kind of league you're in. Like 12-team league, it's kind of like what you have at receiver. 14-team league, and one like ours, I think you're going after him. If that's Tyrod Taylor's only option, Tyrod Taylor is going to make plays. So
right.
Hey, he's going to run around and make plays, and he's going to find somebody, and that's the guy that's getting open.
And it sort of seems like it's
worth the risk.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be consistent production. By any means.
Like a bye week, fill in, something like that.
Yeah.
With all of those coming up right now, so there's a ton of buys coming up real quick here.
Yeah, but like you said, the way Tyrod plays, he's always scrambling around. He's always extending plays. That leads for the opportunity for big plays. You saw it early in Mike Wallace's career with Ben Roethlisberger. That's what Mike Wallace made his money on. I mean,
that's it. He sucks now.
You were on that. You were on that. I'll give you that. You were calling Antonio Brown over Mike Wallace for years, and I was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it.
I had to.
I'm taking the loss on that one. I'll give you that one. All right, hypothetical here. Bucks are now 2-4. Bills are 4-2. Make the call. Do either of these teams make the playoffs?
I think the Bills can make the playoffs. New England's going to lose pretty soon here. They're going to struggle to win.
Bold prediction. Second of the week.
They're going to struggle to win games in general. I think the Bills could actually have a chance to win that division this year. Their defense is really good. Jameis got hot in the second half, and he wung it around, and it worked out well. But I like what they have. I wish they had more wide receivers. Yeah. Matthews played today, though, right?
He played today. He didn't do much. I think he only had like a catch or two.
2 catches for 10 yards.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can jump back into that offense. And LaShawn Shady, he looked good.
First touchdowns of the year.
He's back.
Yeah, so fantasy owners rejoice around McCoy.
I used him in some FanDuel, so that was nice timing.
Yep, I went against him, so that was great timing.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, so the AFC is kind of a cluster. So yeah, the Bills I think have just as good of a chance as anyone.
I don't think the Bucs make the playoffs.
I don't think so either. But I think in typical Bills fashion, they'll find a way to lose a couple of games that they should win. And if I had to make a prediction now, I would say that despite being 4-2, despite the Patriots being down a little bit, I would say neither of these teams makes the playoffs.
I can't wait till the Bills play the Patriots. I think that's going to be fun. I'm actually kind of excited. And I'm a Tyrod Taylor truther, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope it ends in a tie then. I wanted to talk about the Bears and Panthers because the Bears won 17-3. You know what this game reminded me of? It reminded me of when Tim Tebow played for the Broncos.
What is Cam Newton?
Cam Newton is a headache. If you own him in fantasy, that's what he is.
You don't know when to fucking use this guy.
No, because he teases you. Because he'll go for 3 touchdowns. He'll run for 50 yards. You'll be like, all right, he turned the corner. And then he has a game like today where he's forcing passes when they're not there. He's trying to make every single thing go without like stepping into it, just throwing all arm. And it doesn't work. I mean, the Bears scored both of their touchdowns.
Defense.
The same guy on defense.
Eddie Jackson.
Yeah. I have it here. So Newton, 9 carries, 50 yards, but
I
just
always
211 through the air, no touchdowns. So I legit
Two
don't.
interceptions.
And 2 picks, yeah. I don't even know how to decide.
Sacked 5 times.
Yeah, I don't know how to decide when to start and sit him. I think it's kind of like the O.J. Howard thing. You look at who else you have on your roster, and
Yeah.
if they have a tough decision, you just roll with Newton and hope he has one of his games.
He had a QBR of 19.3.
I hate that stat, but when it's that low, you know it's bad.
The rating's better than the pass. The QBR is better than the passer rating.
Yeah, but they're both kind of, I don't know, they're flawed.
It takes it more stuff though.
It does. What do you have all of them on you, or just that one?
All who?
All the QBRs?
No, I just have. I mean, once I go through them, each team. But I just have that matchup right now.
Oh, because that's who I was looking for. I was wondering about Trubisky because I said this game reminded me of.
Oh yeah, I had Trubisky's.
It reminded me of an old Tebow game because they scored 14 points on defense. What do you get?
5.6.
Yeah, he went 4 of 7. He threw the ball 7 times, 107 yards, and 70 of those yards came on one completion to Cohen.
Him and Eli Manning had the same day, basically.
But I don't know what that is. Like, when I think of Trubisky, so I understand why the Broncos limited Tebow's passing attempts. Like, I get that. That was the game plan. But are they really doing that already with Trubisky?
I think they did it just to, they went up early, and so, let's not give them a chance. Let's run the ball and throw it minimally.
Yeah.
And make Carolina beat us, and our defense stop them, which they did. So, if that's they don't have many wide receivers. I think Trubisky's a good quarterback, but let's not take any chances. Let's try to win some games. Aaron Rodgers isn't playing. We'll see if we can sneak into the playoffs. Vikings aren't very good. Honestly, they played in a tight game against Baltimore. The Lions struggle. I mean, anybody can sneak into the playoffs out of this division, honestly.
Let's go out of order here of our agenda because I want to jump into that Vikings game because it wasn't as close as the score says because the Ravens scored with no time left. So they won by 8, but legit should have been double digits.
It was still low scoring and close.
It was, but one of my hypothetical questions I wanted to ask you here, Dalvin Cook, let's just play this game even though it doesn't mean anything. Dalvin Cook is 100% healthy. Sam Bradford's 100% healthy. Would the Vikings be considered the best in the NFC?
NFC?
Yeah. I mean, the Falcons are struggling. Packers don't have Rodgers. In my hypothetical, Rodgers is still out.
If you're playing hypothetically, I could say Rodgers is played. So
no, let's just pretend he's still hurt.
That game.
I just think that defense is good. They have a hole every once in a while in the passing game, it seems like, but they're going to make enough plays where they're going to be able to hide that. And offensively, they can run the ball. Even since Cook's been out, they've had no issues running the ball.
Yeah, the NFC's bad, isn't it?
It's
besides the Eagles.
And I don't even know if it's bad or if it's just inconsistent.
Yeah, Rodgers isn't there. The Eagles are the best team. Yeah, it's tough.
It's really tough. I don't think what I'm going with the Ravens, my instant reaction on them, I can't use anyone on their offense in fantasy. Nope. Even though the running backs were the thing right away, it was which running back can you use? That was still a thing for a while. But you can't do it.
I think Alex Collins is still the running back in that offense. I think I'm still going to use him, but not in this game. I was never going to use him.
Dude, He's
had some solid games.
I looked up Flacco's stats.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns in the last 5 games. On the entire year, he has 4 touchdowns and 8 picks.
He's so bad.
Do you realize that we just went on a Thursday night game with the Raiders versus the Chiefs, going down to an untimed down to end the game, and now we're following it up with Dolphins, Ravens.
Oh God, that's gonna be awesome.
I tweeted this the Thursday night, this is the best Thursday night football. It's back. Those people are gonna be humbled so fast.
I'm streaming the Dolphins defense.
It's not a bad call.
I think I already had them, so I might just hang on to them.
Yeah, you might want to do that because I think Mike Wallace took another blow to the head today, and so he'll be in concussion protocol. So speed kills the Dolphins defense, and he won't be able to play. So yeah, that's going to be an ugly game. It's going to be 12-9, just like today's Titans-Browns was. Holy shit. My instant reaction to Titans-Brown is hats off to any Browns fan out there who isn't an alcoholic by now. How do you do it?
Are the Titans actually bad, though?
I don't know.
What the fuck?
I really thought, Mariota's coming back. Maybe he's coming back a little early against Indy, but they put it together. They won. And then they go into Cleveland, and Cleveland is straight trash. They're 0-7,
Yeah,
and you get
bad.
4 field goals. Like, teams have been able to do almost whatever they want against
That's what I
Cleveland.
say.
Like, I don't get it. I saw the rushing stats. Like, Henry had like 13 carries, 13 yards, and Murray was a little better, but nothing
18 for 59.
nothing impressive though. I don't get what that is.
That's a team you should be blowing out of the water.
Oh yeah.
Like that should be the game that you like bounce back as a team. Everybody was talking about in the AFC that it was going to be really good this year, and like that would be the game that vaults you, like gives you your confidence, and you win 12-9 and don't score any touchdowns.
Would you try to buy low on either DeMarco Murray or Derrick Henry?
I don't know if there's a buy low on Derrick Henry. It'd be more of I think I still like Henry. I mean, he's had his games where he's played well. So I don't know if it wouldn't be a buy low. It'd be almost like a buy medium. Because I think whoever owns him would be realizing how decent he's actually been this year.
But the thing is, it's a gamble.
More of a buy low on DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, but I mean, Derrick Henry will have a game like today where he'll have 13 yards, and you're like, fuck, why did I start him? Or then he'll have that game against the Colts where he has 130 yards and a touchdown. And it's like, all right, boom, he's back. This is the guy I want.
I don't know. That's tough.
If I was going to do one though, I think I would try to get Henry in a trade, because Murray seems to be a little bit more inconsistent with like staying healthy and everything, and I just at the long run I just see a little bit more with Henry. So
I think Mariota's just got to get healthier, because I think he's lacking mobility, which is kind of what takes away from the danger, like what makes their offense so dangerous, like the last couple of years.
That's huge. And if Corey Davis can get back, I know he's just a rookie and he probably won't be like a super impactful guy, but just giving them another option on the outside. Eric Decker's really not getting it done. Rashard Matthews is who he is. He's a consistent guy. He's a good receiver, but he's not that game changer that Davis can be. So like you said, if you get a healthy Mariota,
slow down there.
What?
That game changer that Davis can be.
He can.
He barely played in the pros, and you call him a game changer.
Calling it now, dude. I'm all in on Corey Davis. No, I'm all in it. You watch. He comes back. They're scoring 40 that week.
I hate when people like jump on. Like my one thing every year, like slow down on rookie wide receivers, because typically they're not dominant right away, and it's proved again this year. Like, what rookie wide receiver has dominated? Off the top of my head, I can't think of one. Maybe there is, but I can't think of one.
John Ross hasn't played. Mike Williams got a little action. He dropped the ball today.
Yeah, last 2 games, yeah.
Corey Davis has hardly played.
Yeah.
Zay Jones has been one of the least effective players with all of his snaps.
Back on those rookie wide receivers.
Yeah, I'm going to take a step back, but I still like Corey Davis, so go fuck yourself.
I have to fight with this, like the last 2 years. Like, slow down on the rookie wide receivers, everybody.
I don't want to.
Receivers.
Yeah, I don't want to beat up the Browns too bad here, but what are they doing with Kaiser? They name a different quarterback starter.
What the fuck was that?
Yeah, they name a different quarterback starter every week. Quit benching him though. You're 0-7. You need to see what he is, because you're obviously
like a tie game too.
Yeah, and you're obviously Kessler and Hogan aren't going to be your guys. I mean, you already drafted Kaiser, so like just leave him in.
How do you just take him out when it's like 6-6? And
I don't know.
People are like, "This time to see what Deshaun Kaiser has." And it's like, never mind.
Exactly. I didn't see much of that game because it wasn't one of the primary ones I had on. I saw it was close, and then next thing I know, they went to it in red zone, and he wasn't in the game anymore.
No,
so my initial reaction was he must have gotten hurt.
Yeah, that's what I thought right away.
But clearly not the case.
Nope, he got benched.
Moving on to the next game, Jags freaking blank the Colts. I don't have too much on this one. What I'm wondering on this one, if you own Fournette, would you add either Chris Ivory or TJ Yeldon on waivers just as insurance for when Fournette's back? Because both had good games. I mean, Yeldon went 9 for 122 and a touchdown. Ivory had 47 on 17 carries, so not a great yards per carry, but he also did have a touchdown. So would you use a roster spot on a guy like that with Fournette's injury? I thought Fournette was going to play.
I think they purposely. I think if they didn't have a bye week next week, they probably would have played him. But they have a bye week next week, so give them 2 weeks of rest to fully bounce back.
Yeah.
I probably, I don't know. I guess Chris Ivory doesn't hurt to have on our roster anyways. Again, that's another, like, depending on the type of league you have. If you're in a 14-team deeper league, fuck yeah, get that handcuff out there. Running backs are in the middle, and if you lose your top guy, like, you need somebody to replace that. So it depends on the size of your league. But I guess I'm not running to jump to get one of those guys right away. But Ivory is the guy out of the two of them, because I don't even know if Yeldon's been active until here.
Well, that's the thing.
If he hasn't been playing.
I say Yeldon's about 8 carries away from another ankle injury or something. So I would probably tread lightly on Yeldon. That 9 for 122 and a touch is going to catch people's eyes. But I wouldn't jump to trying to sign him or anything. Like I said, Fournette's going to be the guy once he's there. So.
And Ivory's been their passing guy, which is really weird to say. Their receiving back.
Yeah.
It was working well there for a little bit.
Right.
I thought it was hilarious.
If you're the Colts and you're 2-5, they're just going to shut down Luck now, aren't they?
Oh, shit. I hope not.
I know, but you're like, dude, you're 2-5. Your team is not that good. Like, I don't know. At the end of the day, I think you got to look for the future of the team. You're going to bring him back, and he's going to get yacked on again.
They said earlier that they'll bring him back no matter what they're at if he's ready.
Gosh.
And I just wanted him for fantasy football purposes, so I'm selfish.
So do I. That's why I brought it up. Because
I'm going to have to drop him, but I think he probably won't come back. But they should, just for me.
I was like, my luck is, well, I'll drop him. He'll be active 2 weeks later, and I won't be the guy that picks him back up. So it sucks.
I thought I was smart drafting him in like the 15th round in a team. And I still think it was in a league that everybody makes the playoffs, so.
Right, yeah, you have nothing to lose at that point. You might as well stash him. The Cardinals got freaking owned today by the Rams, 33-0. One of, I think, 3 teams that put up a goose egg today.
Oh, the Rams are a good team in the NFC.
The Rams, yes, exactly. I said this on the last couple of podcasts that the Cards... AP is going to be okay in fantasy, but he's not going to make them any more relevant. And now Carson Palmer broke his arm and just might be done. So I think the Cards are done with him.
I went a different route. Like with AP, I just thought that game was an anomaly, the first game, and I thought this is more representative of what he's going to be the entire year. This 11
Remember
21 yards. I was telling people to bench him. I was like, don't play him. Don't play Adrian Peterson this week. He's not going to be good. Like he's so slow. Like last week when I watched him with that 27-yard touchdown, he even talked about it on pregame this morning. They had an interview with him. They showed it. He's like, "Oh, if that would have been more than like 27 yards, I could have probably been caught." It's the slowest I've ever seen him running my entire life. Right. I'm like, he can't continue to do that. I don't even know if Carson Palmer would have helped him or not. But Carson Palmer needs to retire, and the Cardinals need to just start over.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was last podcast or the podcast before, but we were talking about AP, and one of us said, like, what do you do with AP moving forward in fantasy here? And I think it might have been you. You said you trade him.
100%. It was me.
You trade him, but like now you can't even trade him. Like there's no value there. Like he didn't have that great of a game. Palmer's out. You're not going to trust an offense led by Drew Stanton. And the Cardinals just are so inconsistent. We said, you're going to have some games with the Cardinals where they're going to score 30 points, and Palmer and Fitzgerald are going to look fine, and Peterson, throw him in there too. But then you're going to have these duds, and it's just not worth it.
So I got to tell this story. So I was talking to a guy that I'm in a fantasy league with, and he picked up Adrian Peterson off the waiver wire once he got traded to the Cardinals, and this other kid had David Johnson who really wanted him. And this guy was offering him so much for Adrian Peterson. And I was like, trade him. And then he didn't trade him yet. And then he had a big week last week. And he's like, I don't know if I should trade him. And this guy was still willing to give up a ridiculous price. I can't remember if he was like willing to give up Fournette for Adrian Peterson or something like that.
Yeah, pull the
trigger. And I was like, dude, trade him. He's like, I think I might just use him. I think he's going to be good. And I'm like, dude, fucking trade him. And this is why. This is why I said that, because it's going to be like that.
Yeah, and now you're down to 0 value.
Yes. Now they're not. Yeah. Now you're not going to get anything out of them.
No. Are you trying to sell Sammy Watkins? I know we've kind of talked about Sammy Watkins like 3 weeks in a row right now. Had another game where he struggled, and I looked at their next 3 games. He plays the Giants, the Texans, and the Vikings, who are all pretty decent against the pass.
Who are you selling them to?
I don't know. You're not gonna
waiver wire?
You're not gonna win this trade. Like, you're not going to
No,
get much for him.
Just drop him.
I don't know, man. It's brutal. Like, you don't want to sell too low, but gosh, you're not.
He'll be good next year.
Yeah, get him in a keeper league.
I think he needs a year in this offense because with Robert Woods, I don't know how Robert Woods has picked it up right away. Like, he's playing their better wide receivers in Cooper Kupp and Gurley. I mean, you would think he would bust out, but I mean, 3 for 42 today. I don't know.
Yeah, that's just not going to do it in fantasy. Like, you're expecting him to.
But everybody expected him not to have a good week, I think, with Patrick Peterson out there this week.
That is true, but that's what I'm saying, though. I mean, then they get the Giants, Texans, and Vikings. It could be a lot more of the same.
Yeah.
It's just a tough
I don't
call.
know what to tell you. He's probably just he's another guy, like, you don't necessarily want to drop him because he's a big name, but you can't really play him, especially with those matchups coming up. So it's like a stash and trying to use him in the right spots, hoping he busts out eventually and gels with that offense.
Right.
I hate it, though. Like, I hate guys like that because you know that they have so much talent, but they're not doing it right now. And it's like as soon as you get rid of him, he's going to bust out for 150 yards and like 2 touchdowns.
Exactly how it goes. That's why I'd be
That's the
scared to
worst.
sell him. But I don't know. You're getting so little return on him right now.
You're not going to get any value out of it, so you're not going to get good trade value.
No.
So
Let's move on to the next game. Dolphins come back for the second week in a row, down by 14 or more points. 31-28. Hey, Abby. Win over the Jets.
I didn't know she was there.
I got a lot of thoughts on this one. I'll try to keep it short, though, just because I don't want to be too homerish on it. Potential waiver wire guy, though, Kenny Stills, especially if Devontae Parker. Like, I don't know.
We were talking about last week.
Yeah. I don't know if Parker. I don't know. The dude's glass. That injury was.
You like that? You like that term for him? Huh?
I do. Like I said on Twitter, his nameplate. They should take Parker off it and just replace it with glass.
Yeah, that's a funny one, man. Nice.
It was so good.
I was just like was busting the guts. This is a knee slapper.
Yeah, I'm busting that in your mouth.
All right.
But dude, like, all right. So Parker had this little ankle injury that was supposed to keep him out. It's kept him out 2 weeks now. Kenny Stills comes in today, 6 catches, 85 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And now Jay Cutler's hurt, and you have a gunslinger in Matt Moore. Matt Moore to Kenny Stills is like a, I don't want to call it a match made in heaven, but they're kind of perfect for each other.
Dude, I mean, I said this before the season. I mean, all these GMs should start listening to me. Why waste the money on Jay Cutler when you're going to get just as good, if not better, out of Matt Moore? And
I love it, though, because Matt Moore comes in, throws an interception right away.
Yeah, and then he fucking comes out and brings it back in the game.
That's exactly who Matt Moore is. I've beaten this to death. The guy.
He gels better with these guys.
Well, it's the exact opposite. It's what he does. What I thought Cutler would be able to do. I thought Cutler would maybe be able to take him to that next step, but Cutler is actually taking them down a step. Whereas Matt Moore, like as a Dolphins fan, seeing him for this long, I know what Matt Moore is. He's not going to lead him to too much. But
that's what's ridiculous. You sit here and say, "I know what Matt Moore is." Like you haven't watched Jay Cutler for 100 years still with million interceptions and not be good. Like we know what Jay Cutler is more than anybody in like the league has ever been. It's like entertainment for me. I was so excited to watch him go to the Dolphins, and this is why, because he's so fucking bad.
Your wish came true,
and you're all excited about him, right? Like, come on, dude.
Dude,
Matt Moore was the better option.
You're the little kid. You get a new toy. You're happy for it. Sometimes it breaks, though. Sometimes your new toy breaks.
It never worked in the first place.
I do have to give myself credit, though. My bold prediction was Jarvis Landry scoring 3 weeks in a row, and bam.
Yeah, that was nice.
Touchdown. So, yeah, Dolphins are 4-2 on the road to the Super Bowl. We already talked about the Vikings and the Ravens. The freaking Cowboys putting the stomping on the 49ers. And my first reaction is, I hope our guest, Elliot Christ, didn't put too much of his real money on his Beathard and Kittle stack. Because I think Kittle might have had like 1 or 2 catches. And
Hold on.
it was bad news.
He had 1 catch for 16 yards.
That's 2 fantasy points in FanDuel.
Beathard ran in a touchdown at the very end.
Is that how they scored? I didn't even see how they scored on that one.
They ran a little option, and he took it to the house from about 3 yards away.
Yeah, so hopefully you didn't listen to that stack, because that's just going to cost you money. That's not going to help you.
Yeah, that did not work out for him.
This game went exactly how the Cowboys needed it to, though. It's what the Titans should have done to the Browns.
if the Niners could have stayed in that game, they were like in the red zone multiple times at the beginning of the game when they fucked up, and it was like they had chances to be in it, and then the Cowboys just ran away with it. It was really weird to watch.
But what I'm thinking though is like, so the Cowboys needed obviously the win, but like just to treat them the way that they did, that was huge because they were showing their next like even like the whole remaining schedule for the rest of the way for the Cowboys.
Yeah,
it is brutal. They don't have like any easy matchups until they hit like the Giants, and that being a divisional game, it's probably not even going to be that easy.
Yeah, I still think they're like an elite team, like they looked last year. Their defense is bad. Their defense is really bad. It still seemed like the 49ers are moving up and down the field pretty good.
Yeah,
once they got to start coming off the edge, like, and they knew they got to tee off, then they were better.
Right.
But I mean, Carlos Hyde was, what did he go for? 14 to 68. It seemed like he was getting a 5 to 6 yard carry every freaking time he had the ball. He looked good. It seemed like Beathard was like actually throwing it pretty well. It's just like once they got way down and they got to tee off and hit him. So they are going to struggle because their defense is bad, the Cowboys. But as long as Zeke's there, I think they'll always be in the games.
Well, that brings me to my question. Any chance you would sell Zeke just because of what you could get for him, and then just mixing that in with the uncertainty that every single week it's like he is playing and then he isn't playing? Would you sell him?
Let me flip it on you. Any chance that you would buy him?
Ah, great question. I love when you answer a question with a question. Let me think about this for 1 second. Depending on how my league was. So this is what I would do. If I was in a situation where I needed to make a run, I would do it. If I was like kind of like thinking like, you know what, I'll probably make the playoffs, I'm looking pretty good, I wouldn't do it. But if I was in a situation where I'm like, well, I need a guy that can get me like that 20, 30-point week, and I'm weak at running back, I would do it. I think I would take the risk.
That's true. Like I think I might take that risk too. It depends. Maybe if you are a playoff team, you're deep enough to go ahead and, like, if you're a really good team and you're really deep, maybe you have enough that you can take a risk and get them. But also, it's the flip side. Like the situations I'm in. I'm in a couple of leagues where I'm like, shit, I could take a risk and go and try to get him. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'm under the thoughts that he's going to play the whole season and get suspended next year.
That's probably what'll end up happening. My luck, though, I would trade for him, and he'd get his 6-week suspension right after I did it. Like,
yeah.
I don't know though. I think I like that. Now I'm just waiting. I'm gonna wait for my inbox to explode this week with Zeke trades. Just hoping it happens.
I might take him. I might take him off of somebody's hand.
I like it. I don't have much for the Seahawks Giants. I think that game kind of went what we predicted. It stayed under. I think we hit the under on that. On that one.
I said under, but I didn't take the under.
Right. Should have listened to yourself.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of what it was. It wasn't too exciting. My reaction fantasy wise from this is if you have any Giants on your team besides Evan Ingram, don't use them. That whole running back situation. Remember we talked about it? Orleans Darkwa, whoever the hell else it could be, like just trash again.
Vereen, yeah. I mean, Darkwa still had 9 carries for 35 yards, but Gallman was out there a lot of times catching passes and stuff like that. So.
And I think I would leave that Seattle running back situation alone as well. Every week it's like, oh, this guy's going to start or this guy's going to do it. It doesn't matter who's back there. They can't block.
Nope.
There's no blocking, and that's the one thing you should be able to do against the Giants is run the ball. We've talked about this in daily fantasy. Use guys against the Giants. Well, if you can't do it against the Giants, you just can't do it. So in Seattle, I'm using Doug Baldwin.
Doug Baldwin is the man.
Doug Baldwin and Russell Wilson.
He's always the most underrated goddamn wide receiver. He's like Devontae Freeman. Just consistently good that you don't like touch him because he's right in the middle of it. They're consistently just winners. Like they consistently win you leagues and games.
Right. Let's move over to the Steelers-Bengals. Steelers kind of handled them in the second half. They ended up winning 29-14. I heard a stat right before we started. The Bengals had 19 yards in the second half. Did you see much of that one?
It seemed like they couldn't even snap the every time they were trying to throw it a lot at the end there.
Yeah.
The second half, and this pass rush for the. I don't know if the Bengals offensive line is that bad.
Dude, they're bad.
The pass rush was just getting into them every time.
Bud Dupree was just.
Christ, get a damn throw up.
Yeah, Bud Dupree was in Andy Dalton's face the entire second half. It seemed like.
You know what my favorite part about that game was?
What was it?
4th and 3. the Bengals had to go for it, down 2 scores with about 5 minutes left, and Aaron D. Dalton throws it away.
I totally missed that.
What the fuck? AJ Green was standing there,
It's like, wait a minute, does he know?
And he just put right when he threw it, he just put his head down into his hands. Like, what the fuck? Why do I have to play with these bunch of idiots?
That sucks.
Like, I can only imagine the thoughts that were going through his head as this ball sails over everybody's heads out of bounds. Like, it wasn't even like he was trying to hit somebody on the sideline. He threw it away, like way out of bounds.
Not like ruining the prime of one of the best receivers' careers, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like we didn't touch on Joe Thomas because his streak came to an end today because he got hurt. But literally, the Browns have ruined one of the best offensive tackles in league history. They just ruined his career.
Yeah, that's why they always talk about Green Bay, like, trading for him just because he's out of Wisconsin, obviously. Like,
oh, gosh.
Is this the year that they go get Joe Thomas? You know, and obviously now with Devin Bakhtiari, it's not going to happen.
Right.
He needs to get the fuck out of there at some point. It's just, like, finish off somewhere that, like, go to the Patriots for cheap. Just for really cheap.
You know he's going to get his ring. He'll get his ring next year in New England.
Yeah.
The one thing, so we just talked about the Bengals, and they cannot block for a damn, and everyone was so high on Joe Mixon going into the year, and you and I were kind of like, let's not do it. He did. He averaged 7 yards per carry today.
Yeah, 6.9 actually. Nice.
He only had 7 carries.
Yeah.
They couldn't afford to run the ball. 1, because they were losing in the second half, and 2, because they just can't commit to running the ball because their offensive line just can't get it done.
I mean, they should have, though. I don't know why they didn't run more, because it was still a close game in the first half.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I don't know. I think it's time for Lewis to go.
Yeah, you got to go.
I think that whole GM and head coach and all that situation needs to just be redone. It's like, you know what? He's going to turn into Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, just always having a job, don't know why.
Yeah, and just sucking.
You want to know who I'm done with, man? Martavis fucking
Yeah,
Bryant.
I know this answer because I tried to do the same thing you did, which it worked out better for me because my team fucking dominated and he didn't affect me, but yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Dude, so I tweeted about this. If you follow us on Twitter at LoadedBox, the whole week I'm like, all right, I'm sitting Martavis in every single league. Like, I'm doing it. I don't care. I'm not going to get talked into playing him. I'm watching something this morning, and it was all about, like, the whole Martavis thing was blown out, the whole trade rumor thing. They're not going to sub him out for Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, they're going to give him looks. He had 1 catch for 3 yards. I jokingly said on Twitter that he was going to have like 4 for 40 or whatever. Like, I just said like a shitty stat line just to be an asshole. And he made my stat line look excellent.
Yeah, he would have. If I would have. Oh, shit. Tom Brady just died.
And what sucks, too, in one of those leagues, I took out Smith-Schuster for Bryant.
I don't know if you saw it, but I asked you, did you see that one deep ball Ben Roethlisberger threw to him?
Where he didn't see the ball?
Did he not see it, or did he just not give a fuck?
I'm not sure.
I was convinced that, did he just quit?
At a certain time, I'm like...
Did he actually just quit, right? Was that the play that he quit on? Like, was that it? He said, fuck these guys.
This is it.
Because I feel like he could have caught it.
Well, and I was sitting there waiting, like, when's he going to turn his head?
It was turned.
Well, like, when's he going to adjust, though, with the rest of his body? Like,
I
nothing.
thought he could have scored on that play. I was like, oh, shit, this is it right here. This is that play.
Yeah.
And he just didn't even put his hands out.
I'm saying it now, man. He's not being in my roster next week, and if he is, it's because I forgot to change my lineup. So,
yeah,
done with them.
They even play next week.
Hopefully they're on bye, so I don't even worry about it.
Let me pull it up real fast here for y'all. N-words. The Lions.
They play the Lions? Fuck, though. It's going to be a juicy matchup, too.
On Sunday night.
Oh, no. I'm going to get suckered into
Our
it.
name is Brian, I guarantee you.
We're going to play him again, aren't we?
I guarantee you. We both gone right now. Ben and I are saying we're not going to play him, but we're probably going to fucking last second throw him in the lineup.
It sucks.
You got to take the bait on that one. It's hard not to.
Consider it taken, dude. I'm not touching my lineup. Fuck.
God, he's got the Lions and the Colts the next fucking 2 weeks.
I'm going to use him both weeks, ain't I?
Oh, it's a bye week in between. No. Yeah, it's going to be hard not to.
Sucks. I'm going to try to trade him before this.
And the Packers? Look at the schedule they have coming up. It's ridiculous.
Part of me was hoping that he actually did get traded. I mean, not that he's going to play with a better offense than Pittsburgh. I'm like, but maybe he just needs a new start.
I can't believe we're going to play him.
We're going to play him.
We're idiots.
Oh, man. We got one game left. Chargers blanking the Broncos 21-zip.
Blanking them in the ass.
I want to bring up their defensive line because we had Chris McCain on the podcast.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd bring this up.
Is that Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa, Christmas McCain? I almost called him Christmas.
I don't know the fuck that is.
Hopefully he doesn't listen this week. Well, even though we're going to talk good about him. Are they the best trio of pass rushers? They combined for 5 sacks today.
Like, they already were really good with obviously with Ingram and
Bosa. Yeah.
Like, they were just gross. Like, they just come up the edges and, like, you fear death for your quarterback.
I don't know which one I fear more.
Like, the Broncos were the best pass rush at one point. I feel like those are the two scariest outside linebackers all together, a team of outside linebackers in the NFL. And then you've got him just running around wreaking havoc as well. It's just ridiculous. Like there's no team there's really not many teams with 2, much less 3 guys like that. He's gonna get a contract next year.
Oh shit, yeah.
Big time. I hope he comes to Green Bay, honestly.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, we're gonna cut Clay Matthews because he's the worst goddamn outside linebacker in America. I was watching that fucking whatever, and let's just get rid of him. But McCain's gonna get he's gonna get a contract.
So they've played 6 or 7 games now this year. I don't know if the Chargers have had their bye or not. But that three has combined for 20.5 sacks.
How many does McCain have?
McCain has 5, Bosa 7.5, and Ingram is 8.
Yeah, he has 5 after that game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 sacks coming into it.
And 2 of McCain's.
And both of his were
forced fumbles today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is just nasty. I mean, where I was going with this too, the Chargers have always been fine on offense, and it's always been the lack of them being able to close and having a defense that's held them back.
Yeah.
And now they have a legit defense, and then they had those 2 games in a row where they closed at the end. They won the 1-possession game, and then they follow it up with a shutout of the Broncos today. I know they're only 3-4, but dude, they're kind of in this.
They are. They're not kind of. I mean, they're right there. Everybody's within 2 games there, and everybody's really good.
Well,
Except for it looks like Denver is what we thought. It feels like Denver's trending to what we always thought they were. It's going to be like this 7-9 season.
Yeah.
So I think between the Chiefs, the Chargers, and Oakland, it's a toss-up. Denver's going to fall off. I think it's pretty clear Denver.
I think they're the weakest link.
Their defense doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
People are all excited about Simeon. He threw 4 touchdowns one game. He's not good.
No, screw that guy. But like you said, the Chiefs now have lost 2 in a row. The Raiders they're fun, but they're a little unpredictable. And the Chargers are getting hot.
Yeah, they're actually putting together a full roster here.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun race. I'm looking forward to that division.
And with Allen, if he can stay healthy and continue he had a tough matchup today, and he had a couple of times where he got open. I'm like, he's going to keep getting his catches and keep getting his numbers as well with all the weapons they have out there.
Yeah.
And they come along. Shit, man.
And Hunter,
man.
And the whole transition of tight end. So, Gates, I think, had 1 catch today, and Hunter Henry got more targets. So I think that's in full motion. I think it's Henry moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Williams was getting a little bit of action today. I saw he had a pretty brutal drop. What I noticed with him is kind of what we saw in college was kind of like that speed and quickness off the line. If he gets jammed, he's kind of flustered. He kind of reminds me of Devontae Parker in that same mold. They're big body. They can make plays, but they're going to struggle if someone's pushing them at the line.
Well, he's just getting started. I mean, he hasn't even got to play with them for the last
it's super early. But then you have Travis Benjamin, who houses a return, and then he takes a 42-yard slant to the house.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, Travis Benjamin, is that a waiver wire guy, or is that kind of just
but they have so many because they have Williams, and then they got it's like you could play everybody.
Right.
Williams.
Yeah, I think that's got to be a deep league kind of guy. You could roster Benjamin, but starting him, that you're going to have I don't know. You're going to be pretty desperate.
He had 1 catch for 42 yards and a touchdown. So.
Yeah. Well, if you're getting the return points, I guess that helps. But you're not going to bank on that.
Yeah. No, definitely not.
Have any thoughts and predictions on this Falcons-Patriots game that's already started?
Well, I bet there's Julio. Hey, he knows how to throw it to him. I bet money the Falcons 3-point dog. So, and I think they'll win it outright. So I think they actually might win by 10 here. That's my prediction.
I sure hope so. I like your prediction so much, I'm not even going to say anything.
I don't want Julio to play too good, though, because I'm betting against him in multiple leagues. So 60 yards and touchdown.
3 touchdowns.
I'm good. Yeah, I know. All right.
All right, let's close this puppy out. As always, tweet any questions you have at Loaded Box. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll talk to you as we preview Week 8.
Bye.